Well, we really have plumbed the depths of Daniel Larson. Only my second Daniel Larson article, and it had to be this one. Really? Oh well, it is what it is. And yes, if you think this seems a little bit harsh, you have no idea. So let's put everybody out of their misery because listen, the sooner we get through this, the sooner I can go home and play my clarinet. So, the subject of all contents surrounding the P word are potentially offensive and/or controversial. Viewer discretion is advised. Special message. Due to the subject matter of this article, there will be a much higher standard of evidence. All claims must be sourced, preferably from primary and secondary source. Daniel Larson's most infamous trait is his extensive history regarding PDF and PDF behavior. It is unclear where this behavior comes from. While the cause is extensively debated, it is speculated to have come from alleged childhood sexual abuse. The twisted, disjointed way he views the world on account of his mental illness, intensive porn addiction, and his stunted sexual development. While Daniel has been manipulated into making admissions of PDF and evidence has been faked by past management and trolls, there is irrefutable evidence that outright confirms Daniel to be a nonce, basically. For those who don't know, nonce means of not of normal criminal element. Which, yeah, that sums up Larson, all right. Origins. Alleged childhood sexual abuse. It is unknown if Daniel was truly raped or if he had an act adjacent to that performed onto him. It is important to know that Daniel is perfectly capable of being a nonce and exhibiting nonce tendencies without constant accusations of childhood rap. For one example, for Michelle Lawrence's comment on Facebook, I worked with this person when he was a child/teen in a severe treatment center in Denver. He's had a horrible upbringing and does not suffer from multiple behavior and personality issues. This is a man with deep-rooted mental health problems. It's very sad, and I hope that the dog and himself finds help. There's a history of child sexual abuse to him and by him as well. How he acts isn't a game or him faking. It's truly how his brain thinks, and it's severely debilitated. Very sad story to see from this, from working with him as a teen. And then Daniel's question on Quora about his own mother. Has your mother ever given you a hand job as a kid? Yeah, guys, if I have not said this before, I'm just gonna say it now, and I'll say it a few more times as we go through this. This is not normal. It's not normal to ask for things like this, and it's not like again because we don't fully understand every single aspect about Daniel's childhood, but at the same time, who you know someone must be has a lot of issues going on upstairs when you start asking stuff like this, and people who've worked alongside Daniel see his behavior as being completely sincere and genuine. It doesn't excuse anything Daniel does, but Daniel couldn't be any further away from really understanding certain things about the world. Sad as it is to say. It is speculated and constantly debated that Daniel's nonce-like tendencies is a result of traumatic childhood experience, such as facing sexual abuse. As such, it is speculated that Daniel's mother sexually assaulted him while he was younger. This rumor spread after his Quora page was discovered. Quora is a website dedicated to asking and answering questions. On his account, Daniel questioned as to if the reader ever experienced their mother sexually stimulating them as a child. As such, many made the assumption that Elizabeth had carried out this act on his son. However, this is unconfirmed. and most likely false. Not 100%, however, we are because we don't know for certain, we can't outright deny it, nor can we prove that it's it's one of the most difficult aspects about trying to talk about stuff like this, is because I can't stand in court and say, yes, Your Honor, Elizabeth did do that to Daniel, because how could I prove that? Nor could I prove that it didn't happen. It's horrible, don't get me wrong, and we're not trying to glamorize it in any such way, whether it did or didn't happen. During the dog arc, a Facebook user by the name of Michelle Lawrence claimed to have worked with Daniel during his childhood, most likely during the time in which he was at the Tennyson Center. She claimed that Daniel had a history of sexual abuse to him and by him, which adds believability the claim that Daniel was possibly molested as a child. However, due to no records existing of Michelle actually being an employee at the Tennyson Center, her claims remain invalid. Daniel is known to hold grudges against people, and if he had been previously sexually abused, especially in childhood, he most likely would have already posted about it. This is incredibly important, as there has been an incredibly strong link established between childhood abuse and PDF, as anywhere between 33% to 75% of child sex offenders report being sexually abused as a child, according to a Canadian study. Those who had been sexually abused before the age of 16 sexually offended against significantly younger victims and had significantly more indicators of PDF interest. Also from Daniel. At the time Ryan sexually assaulted me, I was just starting Special Olympics and doing the American Idol audition. Ryan got jealous because I was happier at the time than him and he wanted to star on the Disney Channel, which I sadly said would never happen. One morning I woke up to Ryan in the same bed as me and everything got worse from there. Let's come back to that a little bit, because I'm not entirely sure. Um, Daniel's nonce tendencies can be a response to traumatic events from his childhood. Although Daniel's childhood abuse is tragic, it may have positive implications for his recovery. Sex offenders who were victims as children are more likely to complete treatment and avoid reoffending. However, it is highly unlikely for Daniel to receive treatment as a result of his mental illness and his unwillingness to receive treatment for them. Daniel also alleges that he was abused by a person named Ryan from 2018 to 2019. Although the validity of Ryan sexually assaulting Daniel is questionable, as information from the caretaker call implies, that Daniel may have been the one to assault Ryan. Additionally, statements regarding when Ryan rapped him are often contradictory or do not make any sense at all. For example, Daniel claims that Ryan sexually assaulted him due to Ryan supposedly being jealous of his perceived fame. One of the earliest recorded instances of someone accusing Daniel of PDF online was November 22nd, 2020. And I suppose we can discuss that, I guess. Examples of nonce behaviour. Obsession with child celebrities and children in general. One of the most constantly appearing figures in the Daniel Larson saga is Grace Vanderbilt, whom he was obsessed with when she was well under the age of 18. Daniel has been known to like, bookmark, and watch videos of children. His usual subjects are celebrities such as the aforementioned Gracie and Darcy Lynn, but also with random children, which, most disturbingly, were as young as infants. In October 2023, Daniel was caught by a Reddit user liking photos of their infant child. Exposed Pinterest leak. In November of 2020, Daniel's Pinterest account was discovered under Hollywoodlars 20, the handle used in many of his social media accounts and Gmail. The Pinterest had pinned images of young girls, a map of the United States with the age of consent per state, dating back to February of 2020. A Zoom meeting with Daniel was held where he was confronted with the account matching his social media. He consistently denied owning the account, often making up excuses, but after a lot of pressure, eventually admitted to owning it. Daniel then deleted the account after realizing he was caught. So, I think the interesting aspect of it is that Daniel knew fully well that he was going to get into trouble if he was caught. That's why he did it, thinking that just wipes all evidence off the face of the earth. That again also suggests the idea that Daniel knows perfectly well that it's wrong to do stuff like that. Sometimes you do. I am a little bit concerned sometimes about the fact that they know perfectly well it's wrong to do stuff like that, and yet the only reason why they stopped is because they were caught. It suggests they knew all this time that it was wrong. So, the idea that cognitive dissonance reflects with the age of obviously that's obviously a lie anyway, because well, Daniel understood the difference, and again with stuff like this it's on a very case by case basis, but at the same time this is concerning Daniel and the fact that Daniel knew immediately, or rather Daniel knew when he was caught. Who's to say if Daniel wasn't caught it probably would have continued. Camera roll. On an unknown date, Daniel accidentally exposed his camera roll, which displayed possibly hundreds of saved photos of children on his phone, some of them containing explicitly illegal photos of CN. I go back to what I just said earlier. He knew, and guess what? The only reason why it probably would have continued, and it probably did, because guess what? With so many people like Daniel Larson, guess what? It's called malicious intent. Daniel knows perfectly well that guess what? Doing these things are wrong and evil, and guess what? He couldn't care less. Because as long as Daniel gets away with it, that's all that matters. Which, by the way, continues, because guess what? This is a pretty long list anyway, and it keeps going. Second, Pinterest. In September of 2023, Daniel's second Pinterest was exposed by a Reddit user. The account was found when Daniel uploaded a screenshot which included his profile photo and an account he followed. His account, Joy King, or Comfortable Cop 12, was found by looking through J Gummy Smiles followers list. The account included several photos of Grace Vanderbilt and other child stars in bikinis alongside articles on masturbation, like his first Pinterest account. Once this account was exposed on the subreddit, he attempted to delete it. He claimed he has never used Pinterest before, despite posting several Pinterest screenshots the night before getting exposed, and reported the subreddit. Right. Quora leak. Daniel's Quora account, leaked after some time of August of 2022 by Flexburger, featured even more admissions of nonce behavior from Daniel, with quotes as blatant as, "Why do I have strange thoughts involving children? How do PDFs pick up a girl? And how did your daughter's body react to her first..." I'm not even going to say that. I spy with my little eye something beginning with, "Oh my god." Daniel, despite denying this account was his, accidentally showed him having the Quora app and Quora account on multiple occasions. Oh my god, what do you mean real interaction? Daniel used to live in a home with a family that had 2 children, one of them being called Brenna. The son of the 2 children recorded a highly disturbing video of Daniel Larson pouncing on and trying to kiss Brianna. his sister. I think I'm gonna be sick. Daniel admitted to... you know what? I'm not even gonna read the rest of this. I'm just gonna highlight it. I'm just gonna let it leave there right there because quite frankly I don't have the words. You know what? I've had to talk about some disturbed stuff in my time whilst doing these sorts of videos, but that, quite frank, that, where on earth are you meant to... all of this, to be honest, where on earth do you even start with all of this? You know what? There's a part of me that just straight wants to say, you know what? If I was living in Denver, Colorado, I would have just been the sort of person to say, you know what? Anything goes with Daniel, and I do mean anything, because guess what? I don't think people will miss people like Daniel when they start doing like that alone is that's bad enough alongside everything else. But where, like I said, I'm saying this again because where on earth are you even meant to start with that? And as I said before, Daniel knows perfectly well saying stuff like that is evil, and he couldn't care less anyway. Hence why they often refer to people like Daniel as horror cows. Anyway, sting operations. Given Daniel's infamy on the internet as a lol cow and a horror cow, various trolls would approach him with the intent of trolling him, only to be met with his disturbing behaviour. Several trolls impersonated 14-year-old actor Issy Simpson in order to catfish Daniel Larson on Kik, a messaging app. Daniel's conversations with the Sting are highly disturbing, featuring Daniel asking extremely disgusting and sexual questions about minors. Several instances showcasing Daniel's nonce behaviour have been leaked to Reddit. Many of them are cited above. Below are 3 others that were not mentioned. All the complaints of leaked direct messages between Daniel and trolls. We might possibly look at these at a later date because, quite frankly, well, at this point, I'd say the best thing for Larson is that he stays in prison. Do you think he's going to be any safer in the outside world? Because, like I mentioned again, if I was living in Denver, anything would go. And I wouldn't even feel bad about what would happen to Daniel. And I don't really feel like anybody would have stopped me. Just saying. Admissions. Because of course Daniel would. Let's be honest, why not at this point? On January 16, 2023, Daniel went live after talking with a fake Grace Vanderwall, who had convinced him to admit to both being a nonce and having struck Bob on multiple occasions. Under Zealuja Hand 2 on the R. Daniel Larson subreddit, claimed to have been at least one of the Graces involved in extracting this admission. Well, no then. Yeah, no, I'm not having them collect personal information. Forget it. On July 28, 2023, Daniel posted a video to his YouTube account after being told by the FBI to admit to his nonce action. Daniel admitted to sending nude pictures to minors, masturbating in public spaces, and shoving a water bottle into his rectum. There's a lot of this, by the way, so if you want to see all of it in place and risk being doxxed by archive.org, be my guest. I am not going down that route. Daniel has admitted to, or has been manipulated into admitting, that he is a nonce in the past and present on multiple occasions. The video above being what is believed to be the first admission. Keep in mind that Daniel has possibly manipulated into his admissions, Here are some quotes from some of his various admissions. I admit it, I am a PDF. The reason being is that growing up, I didn't have anybody that really cared about me, and I didn't have anybody that supported me. In the past, I used to use pictures of girls and masturbate to them. Unfortunately, that was over. That was a long time ago, to be honest, and I am no longer that person. It's a bit late now, Daniel. And I reached out for help, and it was just so happened that since I gained popularity on the media, people found out about my past. I am sorry, Dave, for looking up CP and for looking up kids wetting the bed. I am so. Oh, I bet you are, Daniel. I bet, which is why you carried on doing it anyway. I am sorry for having 500 megabytes of. Well, see, there you are. And again, whispering. He didn't really want to admit it, but. I repent, therefore I am masturbating to pictures of children and Gracie. I am sorry. While there is a possibility of manipulation, it is only suspicion rather than an actual fact. And also notice this one. This one is literally nothing. Concept of wrongdoing, completing or missing content. For what it's worth, let me I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again anyway. If we're going to talk about the concept of wrongdoing, the reason why when Daniel was caught with his Pinterest account the first time and then immediately swarmed to delete it, it suggests almost one thing immediately. Daniel had been caught, and therefore to avoid legal action or to be sent to prison, Daniel immediately swarmed to delete his stuff immediately. Which suggests the idea that Daniel knew all this time that he was doing something wrong, and the only thing that seemed to matter to Daniel was not going down for it. However, it only seemed to matter more to Daniel to get caught and not really anything else, considering that anyone else would have bucked their ideas up, but instead Daniel completely went further and further downhill. It does raise the question, however. I mean, I know Daniel must have been cautioned by the police at some point regarding this, but I'm surprised that Daniel did not actually get sent down for this. Which I don't know if that's just something to do with the state laws of Colorado, or more worryingly, the police didn't take any action whatsoever. Maybe none of this was actually ever reported to the police. We have no idea I don't know exactly the reason for that, but it just seems as if that's how it happens. Not that I can imagine that anyone in any other circumstance would have. That's the thing. I don't feel bad for Daniel. I really don't, because, well, if you want to know why I don't feel bad for Daniel, I would advise you to rewind the last 25 minutes and start this video from the beginning, because quite frankly, I don't know where on earth you could go with something like that. And this is only the second article I've done on Daniel Larson. With that being said, however, I guess I'll see all of you guys again next time. I think I need to go and take a shower or something like that. I feel icky after all that. What in the world, are we coming to?